So this video comes from the China Observer channel. I have them linked in the description of the video. You can go check them out, subscribe to their channel, support their content. And over 100 million leftover women in China are struggling to find a relationship right now, despite the fact that there is a gender imbalance. There are more men than women. There still are a lot of women in China right now who are not able to find a partner. You have, for example, a 30-year-old um, master's graduate who is struggling just to find a partner. This is a very common thing. Women who are now approaching 40 or in their 40s, so the oldest of the millennials that prioritize their education, that wanted to be boss babes. They are now basically stuck. They can't find work. They are living with their parents. They have no options. And women are not designed to live without a man. Women are not designed to live without a husband. And the state is not sufficiently able to provide for women in China. And as a result, they are between a rock and a hard place. We're going to jump into the video.
I am 38 years old with a master's degree. I am a high-quality single woman. I originally thought that in Hangzhou, I could find an equally high-quality bachelor. But until I turned 38 this year, I realized that those high-quality single men didn't even look at me. Now, the ones chasing after me are rural bachelors. In other words, if I want to get married, I can only marry into the countryside. Oh no, it's over. I really can't get married anymore. I'm already 34 years old. What should I do? My mum is still waiting for grandchildren. Do I really have to resort to buying sperm for artificial insemination? It's so scary. I want a man. This is my undergraduate degree from Qingdao University of Science and Technology. And this is my master's degree from a private university in Seoul. You don't need to understand Korean. This is the official certification of my master's degree, stamped with an official seal. If I were to falsify any documents, I'd be in prison. I graduated with my master's degree in 2015. In 2016, I obtained temporary residency in Shanghai. Here are the property deeds for my 2 houses. This is the purchase contract and keys for my property in Jiaxing, Shanghai. You can see my fingerprints at the bottom. If the rain stops in a couple of days, I can show you my house in Jiaxing. I couldn't find the purchase contract for the house in Hangzhou, but I'll show you the property there in a few days. This is one of my BMW cars, and this is one of my electric cars. Although it's not valuable, it's genuinely enjoyable to drive. I'm 34 years old with a master's degree, 2 houses, and 2 cars. Previously, I earned around 300,000 yuan per year, but now it's around 150,000 yuan. If I were a man, I'd be highly desirable in the dating market. There would be many girls interested in me, and I could easily pick someone. But just because I'm a woman, I have little value in the dating market. The people others introduce to me are either financially destitute older bachelors or divorced individuals with children, or even unemployed rural singles. Does a woman lose her value as she ages, even if she's accomplished?
This is a very intriguing thing. So, just to be clear, I'll do the math for you. 300,000 yuan translates to about 41,000 United States dollars. So 150,000 yuan would translate to right around 20,500 United States dollars. And that's with that amount of money, she's actually able to own 2 properties and drive 2 nice, very nice cars, which should also show you the difference between how much car manufacturers, car makers are charging for their vehicles in other countries versus the United States. There's an insane markup. This poor woman, who has her graduate degree from a private university in South Korea, basically fell into the feminist trap that told them that go out there, become a boss babe, acquire, get all of this education, prioritize your career, and a man is going to want to be in a relationship with you because you're a high value woman based on the types of things that women are looking for in a man. It's a strange concept, isn't it? Because the same women who are saying that men should date women who work at McDonald's are then also the same women who are surprised when men don't want to date women who are now pushing 40. They are no longer able to have children, or the risk of having children is too severe, right, to both the mother and the child. And and then they're also holding large amounts of student loan debt. It's like, what do you actually have to offer? A man has to work his entire life just to get a woman to pay attention to him. These women, these same women, they all dated older men when they were younger, because younger men don't have money. So they were all being wined and dined by older men. And now that they're older, they want men who are their age, the same men that they were dating when they were older, when they were young, to now pay them attention and not focus on younger women. And they cannot see the hypocrisy in this, because women, their their sense of logic, their ability to reason is driven entirely by emotions. So emotions completely skew reality. They don't look at facts, they look at feelings. So they think using their feelings. Men think using facts. Men draw conclusions based on reality, and they use facts to reason. So their logic is based around reasoning that's based around facts. Women, they use emotions or feelings to reason. So their reasoning is and their logic is based entirely around feelings and emotions. So they're always going to be disconnected from reality, because their reality is shaped entirely by their perception of reality is shaped entirely by their feelings. It doesn't matter if the sky is green, or correction, if the sky is blue. They will, if their feelings tell them that the sky is green, they will, it doesn't, they will always say the sky is green. If their feelings tell them that the sky is purple, they will always say that the sky is purple. It doesn't matter if the sky is actually blue, they will always say that it is purple, because they reason using their feelings to the point that they cannot reason beyond those feelings. It's a hard concept for men to comprehend. This is why I say we're often dealing with people who are functionally insane at best, because they cannot go beyond that perception. It's a similar thing that happens to men as well, though, because we reason using facts. So when we're dealing with women and we cannot understand their perspective, it's difficult, because you're saying, but the sky is blue, and the woman goes, no, it's not, it's purple. And you're like, no, the sky is blue, and I can prove to you it's blue. Okay. And they're like, no, it's not, it's purple. And no matter what you say, she will always say that the sky is purple, and she will always believe that the sky is purple, because her ability to reason is driven solely by feelings and emotions. So feelings take the place of facts for a woman. So so facts and feelings, her facts are feelings. They're driven entirely by feelings. They're driven entirely by emotion. So her ability, her perception of reality will always be based around what she is feeling, and not necessarily aligned with the actual reality of it, with what things actually are. And it's taken me, 40 years of my life to really understand these things, to begin to really decipher women. And then there's a lot of guys will say that doesn't make any sense. How can you go through life acting like this and believing these things? I don't believe you. No one can think like this. And then I say, okay, that's fine, go away. And it's only until men finally experience it and accept it for themselves. No, you're right, angry. Yep, you're right. You're right. And by then I'm like, listen, dude, I'm not your daddy. I'm not your friend. I'm not a bad guy. There are people who have been with me for years. They send me emails, and I'll help them whatever way I can. But if you treat me like crap, then or if you stress me out, don't come back to me later on. You know, I don't have to do this for you. I don't have to be here. I don't have to give you this knowledge. This knowledge, you know how many men passed away, how many men fought for this knowledge? This is wisdom. This knowledge is wisdom. So many men had to put their lives on the line. Look at Kevin Samuels, the late great Kevin Samuels. This man passed away a very young man from hypertension, y'all. Hypertension. Kevin Samuels was not overweight. Okay? There are women on Twitter, the platform formerly known as Twitter, who still have celebrations. They have things literally written in their bio. I have seen them celebrating the passing of Kevin Samuels or saying that he's in hell. When Kevin Samuels passed away, they threw women on YouTube through a celebration. If this doesn't tell y'all anything, I don't know what else will. Like, there is no way that Kevin Samuels passed away from hypertension. I'm just telling y'all that right now. Right now. Okay? So you don't know, you don't think about all the men who sacrifice so much for this knowledge just so you can act like a baby and not want to listen, and until you suffer. And then once you've suffered and it's happened to you, and now you're like, and suffering has finally forced you to accept the reality of things, then you want to come back and come. Nah, don't know, man. Stay out there in the streets. There in the streets. Go find destiny. Go find streamer destiny, because that's a path towards destruction. You know, don't stress me out. Because this is wisdom. This wisdom, men had to fight for this wisdom and give their lives for this wisdom, so other men could have this wisdom, could have access to this. This was not around 20 years ago.
My requirements aren't particularly high. I prefer someone over 1.8 meters tall, good looking, fair skinned, with big eyes, preferably humorous and able to have fun with me. It doesn't matter where they're from, but they must have their own career. Although each of these partner preferences sound normal, it's difficult to find someone who meets all of them. Her name is Jiaqi, a true Beijing girl. At 38, she still has a sweet appearance with a car and a house. Since she was young, Jiaqi has had a princess dream, with her room filled with various Hello Kitty decorations. As the only child in the family, her parents treat her like a princess, praising her even for washing dishes at home. Seeing his daughter getting older, her father often advises her to be more practical and not set her partner standards too high. Although Jiaqi still doesn't believe it's her problem, her desire to get off the singles market remains strong. I really hope that someone will ride a white horse, tread on colorful clouds, and come to me saying, "I finally come to pick you up. You're my wife for life."
I might not place too much emphasis on material things. My bottom line is that she should be able to afford a down payment in Beijing. That's my bottom line. If I were to pursue a girl the same age, to be honest, I might feel a bit shortchanged because, in my opinion, a girl's most precious asset is her youth.
How intense is today's dating scene in China? Take this 37-year-old female master's graduate, Huang Yan, for example. She was once a top student and campus beauty. Growing up as an only child in a well-off family, Huang Yan received meticulous care from her mother throughout her schooling. Her father insisted she keep her distance from boys and focus on her studies. Over time, this led Huang Yan to have little interest in dating, and she never cared much about others' opinions on the matter. Graduating with excellent grades from medical school, Huang Yan smoothly transitioned into becoming a doctor at a top Beijing hospital. At the start of her career, she was young, beautiful, and had excellent qualifications, leading her to have high standards for her partner. After several unsuccessful blind dates, she finds herself at 37, feeling the pressure from her parents and worrying about not being able to find a spouse.
Feeling the pressure from her parents. So the same father who told her, don't have anything to do with boys, shun boys, go to school, get your undergraduate degree, then go and get your medical degree, then spend anywhere from 5 to 10 years doing a residency. And then after all of that, and all of this training and establishing your career, then you can think about a relationship. And now fast forward 20 years later, where she's pushing 40, her parents are pressuring her to get married because they want grandchildren and they're tired of taking care of her. So now they're trying to pawn her off to someone else. Do you see how these men operate? The woman is their little princess until 20, 30 years go by, and now they are desperate to find a man to take care of this woman because they can't do it anymore. Daddy can't provide for her anymore. Daddy can't subsidize her anymore. Daddy is tired now. He needs a man to stay. He needs another man, the same men that he was shunning when he was younger, because she was his little princess. Now he's begging some other man to come and take her and to provide for her, and also provide for them as well, because they're getting old, so they need to be provided for, because there's no social security in China. In China, the government will give you like a very small amount of money to live on. It's very, very small, and it's basically well below the poverty line. Like you will barely be able to eat rice and survive on that meager amount of money. We're talking about like I don't know if it's even $1 a day. It's some crazy small amount, maybe a few dollars a day. It's some crazy small amount of money. This is the reality. In China, they have laws in place where if you can you even if your parents, even if you are estranged from your parents, so like let's say you left your parents when you were 17 years old, you are still legally responsible for your parents. This is how it works in China. So you are still legally responsible to provide for your parents in old age, even if your parents, did not take care of you for the vast majority of your life. They can still pop up 30 to 40 years later, and the government will hold you responsible for taking care of your parents and providing for them, because the government does not have that money. As men, we have to be very careful also in Western society, because this type of thing could also happen to us, because society is going downhill and women are struggling in society. The older generation start to still struggle. Granted, the boomers have all the money, but as women begin to struggle in society, they could pass laws that could try to force men to take on the burdens of women. Now, right now, they're already, using various methods to to take wealth and resources from men. But as men are walking away and living simple lives of luxury, making just enough money to survive and thrive and no more. And the average man could live in a box happily at the side of the road. What they need is our labor. What they need is us to get up and actually go out there and grind. And men are not doing it anymore. So they could pass laws theoretically to force men to do this, to force men to go out there under the threat of prison or having all of your assets taken. Granted, if they do this, while some men may comply, other men may just choose to go to prison. What they would more than likely do is they'll make it just they'll do it in another way. They'll do it in such a way that it's like you won't end up in prison, or you could, but you won't end up in prison. But they'll just make your life so miserable that you'll basically comply. In other words, it's like where you're using YouTube and YouTube basically says no ad blockers. So instead of actually blocking you from watching YouTube, they start to mess with the experience. They start to make it difficult for you to watch videos. The videos won't buffer properly anymore. It becomes very, very frustrating, to the point that it can even start to damage your computer. So like it can start to damage your health. And it gets to the point where you're like, fine, you ultimately end up turning it off. It's like ads. Well, you're tired of seeing ads, so they start showing you just the right number of ads where it's not so much that you'll just give up and walk away and say, okay, yeah, this thing is unwatchable. But it's up to the point where, you're like, these ads are irritating, but I'm going to deal with it anyway, or I'm going to upgrade to YouTube Premium and pay them the balance, pay them what they want, to not have to watch their ads. Because what they actually want you to do is that's basically what's going to happen in Western society. Could very well happen, where they'll basically, force men, nudge men to doing what they want you to do, where they'll basically make your life so miserable that you'll basically eventually just comply.
A best friend, her marriage agency introduced Huang Yan to a divorced PhD graduate who was 4 years younger. They decided to meet at a tennis court since both of them enjoyed sports. The man wore black-framed glasses, had a square face, and a robust physique. After an exhilarating game of tennis, they both felt invigorated. He went by the name Lao Han. Huang Yan felt a slight attraction towards Lao Han. They then went to a hot pot restaurant for dinner. Initially, they got along quite well, but during their conversation, Lao Han lost interest in Huang Yan.
那个海燕老师跟我简单介绍了一下你。
Lao Han,
They said you'd never been in a relationship before.
然后我之前离过
Huang Yan, that's right, I've never been in one.
介意吗？
Do you mind that I've been divorced?
Huang Yan didn't directly answer and pondered for a moment. I think the person matters more. Lao Han persisted.
I don't know how girls view this matter.
Feeling that the topic was too sensitive for a first meeting, Huang Yan ended the conversation with just a few words. After Huang Yan changed the subject, Lao Han's demeanor turned cold. He felt that Huang Yan wasn't being sincere enough and couldn't discuss the matter with him openly. He felt she wasn't interested in understanding him or discussing their future together. The blind date ended shortly after. For Lao Han, his
Notice, guys, he's absolutely right. He's he does not want, he's a man who's experienced with relationships. He's previously divorced. He's trying to be an adult and talk about serious issues like, is my status as a divorced man an issue? Will you have problems if I have children? She's not adult, and guys, she's almost 40 years old. She has a medical degree. She is supposed to be an adult. That's why, guys, none of this, it doesn't matter. Your degree means nothing. But she has no maturity. She does not have the same maturity as a woman who has experience dating and having relationships at the age of 19, because she's never had a boyfriend. She's never dated men before. She's never had any of these experiences. So she does not know how to effectively communicate with another human being outside of medicine, outside of school and education. She doesn't know how to talk to men. To be honest, she barely knows how to talk to people. Okay? She would feel more comfortable writing up notes, regarding an interaction with a patient. And it's kind of sad, but it feels very much like a business transaction. And she can't even discuss very basic things. Both of these people are in their 40s. He's very serious, and he's trying to be an adult and to have serious conversations and not going too deep, but saying, are you okay with this? Would you be okay with this? The truth is, she doesn't know. She does not really know. She's basically in part one, kind of a state of desperation, but two, also in a state where she's like, being very picky, and then she doesn't know what to do. She has no idea. I mean, even among women, she would probably have issues interacting, as she would basically just sit back and let someone who is more outgoing and extroverted have these conversations, because she's not skilled in interpersonal relationships or connections. These are issues that she would have with both men and women. Unbelievable.
didn't work out well. Besides looks and physique, his ex-wife wasn't suitable in other aspects and didn't bring warmth to the family. Now he wanted to find someone who could take care of the home, a mature woman to settle down with. On the way home, Huang Yan discussed Lao Han with her best friend. It was evident that Huang Yan still had some interest in Lao Han and was willing to continue getting to know him. However, when she tried to add Lao Han's contact information to her phone, he declined. Feeling confused, Huang Yan wondered why things couldn't continue. Her friend analyzed the situation, saying that when Lao Han asked how she viewed his divorce, she responded with an indifferent attitude. Lao Han felt she wasn't mature or sincere enough, so he didn't see the need to waste time. Furthermore, besides the difficulty in getting married, the emergence of single women may be more due to not wanting to marry. They hold an attitude of not settling or forcing themselves into marriage.
我83年出生，今年40岁了。
I was born in 1983, so I'm 40 years old this year. I'm single with no children, and I think I might end up being single for the rest of my life. Recently, many people have been introducing potential partners to me, but I've declined all of them. I'm not very interested in meeting new people, as getting to know someone from scratch feels exhausting. And if it doesn't work out, it's just a waste of time.
Guys, a lot of these women are deeply in their masculine, and after 20, 30 years in the streets, they don't have any more energy.
In the eyes of many single women, economic stability is one of the important factors for a stable marriage. Therefore, the phenomenon of brides requesting dowries before marriage is quite prevalent. But the high cost of dowries has skyrocketed marriage expenses, causing many young men to hesitate. There's even a girl demanding a dowry of 5 million yuan. Such a demand undoubtedly caused a huge uproar in the matchmaking market. Do you expect a dowry for your marriage? Of course. Can you give us an estimate of how much? I think with my qualifications, it has to be at least 5 million yuan. Could you tell us about your situation? I prefer a man who is 1.8 meters tall, owns a house and a car, and earns 1 million yuan annually. I meant your personal qualifications, not your criteria for a partner. My personal qualifications? I have a bachelor's degree. I'm 170 centimeters tall.
Guys, she wants a man who is at least 6 feet tall, earns over $100,000 a year. Okay, so like pushing towards $150,000 a year. What? Because okay, so 41,000 yuan is equivalent to $300,000. Okay, that's $41,000 is equivalent to 300,000 yuan. So as you guys can see, what she's asking for is a man who makes more than $120,000 annually in China. More than $120,000 a year annually in China. Does this make any sense to you? And her qualifications for this is that she has a bachelor's degree. And I mean, she wants a guy who's a minimum of 5 feet, 10 inches tall. 1.8 meters. That works out to roughly 5'11", actually. So that's 6 feet tall. She wants a man who is 6 feet tall. We're going to round it. She wants a man who's at least 6 feet tall and makes over $120,000 a year in China. And what does he get in return? She's a high-value woman because she has her bachelor's degree. She's a career woman. And what the hell?
I live with my parents and I work as a receptionist with a monthly salary of 3,500 yuan.
3,500 yuan, guys, yuan, and that's literally nothing. So the man needs to earn 1 million yuan a year, while she only makes $3,500 yuan, right? And what is let's check that out. 3,500 yuan per month, right? Because that's nothing. That works out to $485 a month. 483, but we'll round it off to 485, right? And then over the course of 12 months, she's making $5,820. We'll round that off to 6,000. 6,000. She's making $6,000 a year with a degree, and she wants a man who makes over $120,000 a year in China, and he needs to pay her a dowry before she even gets married to him. A massive amount of money. So he needs to pay her like $100,000 before she will even marry him. And then you wonder why men are walking away from Western society and a westernized society.
After the video was released, it sparked heated discussions online. Just grow old slowly in the sweet anticipation of love. Some people mocked, you should marry an alien instead. In recent years, the number of single women in China has surged. According to statistics, there are currently about 116 million single women in China, forming a unique social trend. Among them, the increasing number of unmarried female white-collar workers are referred to as high-quality single women. According to the prevailing Chinese saying, they are left alone because they are outstanding. High-quality single women often have a relatively high social status, are economically independent, and pursue freedom in life. But this group also faces significant negative societal judgments. Today, female white-collar workers in the workplace have more freedom and choices, but they still face considerable pressure and distress regarding marriage. They are often pressured by parents, relatives, and friends to get married, to stop pursuing their careers, lower their standards, and stop being so picky about potential spouses. Because usually, successful women like these are looking for partners who have better economic conditions and higher social status. They hope to find successful men with annual incomes of tens or even hundreds of thousands, or who own multiple houses and have various requirements regarding height, personality, etc.
Do you see how insane this is? So you have a lot of women in China who have standards even higher than some women in the United States. They all want a man who makes more than 6 figures and is at least 6 feet tall or taller. Now, if you really comprehend this, the average height in China is probably going to be around 5'7". Okay? And they're looking for men who are at least 6 feet tall, make more than 6 figures, and will give them 6 inches, has a 6-pack, and then has also a ton of all of these personality traits. This is feminism. This is feminism. And guys, when these societies begin to suffer as a result of the economic crisis, all right, that's going to hinder the next global crisis, economic crisis. They're going to blame men. Men are the gatekeepers of society. Men are the gatekeepers of prosperity. Women are so deep into their masculinity that they don't realize this, and they think that they don't need men. The same parents who raise these women, do you see how entitled these parents are? The same parents who raise these women are now trying to pawn them off, and they cannot understand why their daughters are this way. They raised their daughter to shun men, to have no relationships, and then they thought that these girls can go out and pick up a man when they're 40 years old and get whatever man they want. And now the parents are so desperate that they're telling their daughters to basically just take any man who will take you. So they raise their girls to be extremely entitled, and then they are shocked when their daughters are extremely entitled and they still have to take care of them at 40 years old. In some cases, still giving them an allowance and praising them when they do things like washing the dishes. A country without its men is not a country. A country without its men is a wasteland.
The outstanding men are few in number. As a result, the age of these leftover women keeps increasing, but their ideal partners never appear. Their mentality of preferring to remain single rather than settle for less keeps them persistently single. In the long wait, youth fades away irreversibly. But what causes anxiety among older women is that, compared to men, women's fertility is naturally limited by age. Medically, pregnant women over 35 are considered to be in the category of advanced maternal age, while men can still have normal fertility even into the 70s. The consequences of advanced maternal age, such as a 5-fold increase in the probability of congenital deformities in newborns and an increased risk of maternal complications, are even more worrying and frightening for many women. Clearly, the natural structure of women's bodies cannot be altered, and this is one of the key factors that strikes many single women. Not only urban white-collar workers, but also rural women are unwilling to marry and start families too early, largely because their standards are too high. After all, in these years of urbanization, many young rural girls have gone to cities to work after completing their education. They see a better and more comfortable life in the city than in the countryside and believe they have opened their horizons. Unconsciously, they raise their standards and requirements for a partner. So when people from their hometowns introduce them to men of similar family backgrounds, they are basically not interested. This also leads them to remain single at an older age. Going back to the roots, there are two major dilemmas that young people face in relationships nowadays. The first dilemma is the materialization of emotions and the pressure of love. But in modern society, everything comes with a cost. Realistic factors such as heavy economic burdens and high childcare costs indeed are important factors influencing young people's decisions to marry. Economists have introduced the concept of marriage economics. Marriage costs include not only material costs such as housing, education, childbirth, child rearing, and even dowries, but also opportunity costs such as time, energy, and the freedom of singlehood that one has to give up. Many men refuse to enter a marriage due to very practical reasons, mainly insufficient economic capability. They cannot afford the costs of buying a house, a car, or paying for dowries. For most young people, the economic pressure of marriage is too great to accept a life burdened with debt. Living alone is seen as more liberating and relaxed compared to the financial strains of marriage. Nowadays, love is based on a high consumption model. Throughout the year, various holidays require red envelopes, gifts, and surprises. Various activities during dates are generally not cheap, requiring a certain level of financial capability. The second major dilemma, in addition to material value, is that relationships now also demand emotional value, such as companionship, care, and thoughtfulness. All of these require time and energy. If you work hard and have a decent income but lack time, it's also difficult to have a successful relationship. Many young people's relationships ultimately end in breakups because they cannot sustain providing both material and emotional value. In such a demanding dating environment, most young men are becoming increasingly disillusioned with love and are choosing to remain single. China has a population of 239 million unmarried young people, and the average age of first marriage has been delayed to 28.67 years old. Some experts suggest reasons why young people are avoiding marriage and relationships, including having a fixed social circle, being too introverted, or not enjoying socializing.
Guys, these societies don't have 10 years. They do not have 10 years because you have people, especially members of the millennials, as you see, and they're in their 30s now and 40s, and then even some Gen X women, a lot of Gen X women who played this game. A lot of these Gen X women who went down the feminist route, they're going to be 60 in 10 years or less than 10 years. Okay? And their income, they don't have the income. They don't have the social safety net. They have none of these things. What's going to happen to these women? They're going to end up homeless. Okay? The state, people don't comprehend this. A woman's value to the state is only as good as her ability to extract wealth and resources from men. So if she's not a single mother, if she's not extracting wealth and resources from a man by being a single mother, if she's not extracting wealth and resources through some other means, through marriage, she's not doing these things through divorce court. If she's not doing these things, then the government is not inclined to provide free money and free housing to a woman who's not bringing money back to the state, not reallocating wealth and resources from men back to the state. Look at what I'm saying very carefully, and you will see that I am right. And as women get older, it gets harder for them to survive and to do this and for this process. So when you have these women who they're now in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they will never get married. They will never have children. What are their options? They're phasing out of the workforce. They're unable to find suitable jobs. They've left the work. Their job has been replaced by AI, and they can't go back. They cannot find any other work because because society is going to favor younger people to do these jobs. Younger being people in their 30s and 40s versus 50s and 60s. To do the remaining crap jobs that are left. Like I said, crap jobs, like low skill, low skill, low investment jobs. Like it's crazy. There's really nothing for them. Like I said, 10 years, millennials will be 50. 10 years, in 10 years, the millennials will be 50. But in less than 10 years, a lot of Gen X women will be in their 60s in less than 10 years. Less than 10 years. Do you know when the first of Gen X turns 60? The Gen X years start in 1965. Think about that very carefully. Gen X years start in 1965, which means that the first of Gen X will turn 60 in 2025. This is the reason why I've said Gen X, these Gen X women, they don't have any time left. That went down this feminist narrative, this feminist path. And they're all banking on Social Security. They don't have the money that the boomers have. A lot of boomer women are in a lot of these boomer women are in trouble. Because while many of them made bank, many of them, there's also a lot of them that were irresponsible, and they kept on messing around, and they don't have that safety net, and they're all banking on Social Security and some meager pension, and many of them don't even have that. But when it comes to these Gen X women, a lot of them they do not have a pension, and they're hoping that an $800 or $1,000 monthly Social Security check is going to save them. And they're a lot older now. They have a series of health issues. They have hypertension. They have diabetes. They have heart disease. Some of them have had CANCER, right? Or they're going through that now. They don't have children. They don't have made it some. Their friends have moved away and passed on, and they have nothing, and they're still holding on to feminism, bro. And society will not be able to absorb the cost. The more money you print, the higher inflation is going to go. And guys, at some point, like I've been saying this, you're going to see men trading in Pokemon cards. Like if you watch Fallout, right? I didn't watch the series yet, but in the games, they use bottle caps. Basically, they use bottle caps to do trades. Like if you want to buy something in Fallout, you use bottle caps, and because of their scarcity. In the way things are going, men are going to basically say, "Yeah, my money's not worth crap," and they're going to start looking for something else as a means of bartering. And what they're going to do is, guys, men are going to start using Pokemon cards, and people are something along the lines of that. And you're going to say, "Angry, that's insane." No, I'm not. It makes a lot of sense. Pokemon cards, there's all these different things. For example, there's ways to authenticate them. There are different generations. There's a variety of different factors to consider, and they have varying values of wealth wealth that they hold. So it makes sense that, and there's scarcity, right? There is scarcity because of the generations. What that basically means is that you will end up with men doing things like using Pokemon cards, if not Pokemon cards themselves, to begin trading, to begin as a form of cash in the place of cash. And we have apps and everything, but we have if cash loses its value and continues to decline so rapidly, men will begin using things like Pokemon cards themselves in the place of cash. And you might say, well, what about the whole digital dollar thing? Well, they'll use Bitcoin. There's Bitcoin always, but Bitcoin still is not the best option for quick commerce. So men will start going around and using Pokemon cards, and they'll use Pokemon. And if they use cash, it'll be cash that's pegged to Pokemon cards, because as the value of first they'll peg the value of Pokemon. They'll basically look at how much a Pokemon card is worth versus let's say the United States dollar. That as the United States dollar's value continues to decrease, the value of a Pokemon card will actually theoretically increase, because there's scarcity. So you're not able to print more Pokemon cards, even though they're printing more money, right? So, and people are still using Pokemon cards in that sense to trade, so as cash. So eventually, the value of Pokemon cards will overtake the value of the United States dollar and other fiat currency. And if people do commerce, for example, using cash, it will be pegged on the value of a Pokemon card. So it doesn't matter if the value of the dollar keeps on decreasing. They're going to look at what the value of the Pokemon card is and what it was relatively prior to the fall of the continued decrease of the dollar. that the value of the Pokemon card will continue to remain stable because they can't make more of this generation. There's scarcity. Guys, I'm just giving you an example. This is how things are going to end up going down. All right, they'll use Pokemon cards, they'll use gold, they'll use all of these things, but the Pokemon card example is a good one. And people are like, Angry, you're psychic, you can see into the future. No, I'm using reason. I'm using reason, guys. Something that we are really missing out on in society. Guys, I've experienced homelessness. I've lived through homelessness. I was homeless for almost 1 year. Well, 8 months, and it was a nightmare. So I know what hardship feels like. I know what it's like to suffer. Yeah, I remember being so hungry that I would literally nibble on my arm, and I would chomp on my arm because it made it feel like I was eating something. I'm just being honest with you. Like those were those times where I was so hungry that I would literally nibble on my own arm so that I would feel like I was eating something. That's like people don't know what it is to ever truly be hungry. During that period of my life, that was over 10 years ago, I ate garbage off the side of the road. It was a normal thing for the homeless people to do, was to eat garbage off the side of the road. And sometimes, places that threw out food, they would come and they would just toss their old food, their old bread or stuff, stale stuff at the side of the road. And like for the homeless people, like we were pigeons, and we would basically go and fight over bread that was on the ground, that rats and roaches were crawling around, and we were happy to have that. This is a reality. Women don't know the true hardships of life. The simp economy is moving overseas. Okay, the simps are fleeing, and you have a lot of these women who are turning to OnlyFools and LonelyFans like it's viable for survival. The average OnlyFools creator makes only $150 a month, but every girl thinks they're going to make it on there. And then the moment they go on that platform, they don't realize that they've sold out their futures for instant gratification in the present. And in many cases, very little instant gratification because they weren't even able to make it. So basically, they sold themselves and destroyed their names while they're trying to cover that up, and they won't be able to cover it up because the moment you get involved with OnlyFools and LonelyFans, you basically end up on a list because the IRS knows who you are, the government knows who you are, so they know you were mixed up with that platform, and that's a record right there for you. So now you have a record, and employers, if they find out that you were ever mixed up with that platform, they don't want to work with you. A lot of law firms, they find out that you were ever mixed up with that platform, they don't want to work with you. Like you are basically shut out of society. And you can call it that it's unfair and it's unequal. Go ahead and take them to court. You're gonna lose. They're gonna lose because these platforms this platform is probably going to end up being shut down. I guarantee you that the Department of Justice is gathering as much information as it can right now, just like they did with Diddy, so that they can go and raid their offices, confiscate information, arrest the creators of that platform, arrest the executive officers on that platform for that platform, and arrest people who create content on that platform. Okay, you're gonna hear about some things like. You may even hear about something like that, like over 1,000 people have been arrested that were connected to this platform, and there are arrests happening all around the world as other governments close in on it. And here's the crazy thing: what do you think is going to happen on platforms like YouTube and Twitter, well, X and Facebook and Instagram, where these OnlyFools creators have set up shop? Or Twitch, where these OnlyFools creators have set up shop, they're going to be banned on these platforms because of what they're associated with. So they're going to lose access and income because these platforms don't care about them at all. And women have created this reality for themselves. They think that they're unstoppable. They think they're untouchable. They think that nothing can knock them down from that perch. And because they have their bachelor's degree or master's degree or medical degree, come on, y'all. And it's like, it's only going to get harder. And the funny thing is they're going to blame men for it. They're going to blame men for it. And the same parents who raise these women and are frustrated with these women are also going to turn around and blame men because what, the man can't give your daughter everything she wants because there's not enough 6-foot guys with six packs that make over six figures in China. Western society and westernized societies are done. They are finished. It's a sinkhole, a 100% sinkhole. They're not coming. These are just reflections of the choices and decisions that women have made.
Disagree with these comments, with many online comments stating that the most direct reason is poverty, life being too difficult, being unable to afford marriage, or simply not having enough money. In 2023, the Chinese economy was not thriving due to various factors such as the downturn in the real estate industry, local government debt issues, and high youth unemployment rates. Many young people held negative views about the future and marriage. Even in 2024, economic experts are not optimistic about the prospects of China's economy. Many believe that the economic growth rate in 2024 will be lower than in 2023. Due to the sluggish real estate market and stagnant consumption, the severe situation is expected to continue. Today, there is a trend on the Chinese internet called 4 No's Youth, meaning no relationship, no marriage, no buying a house, no having children. Facing the pressure of marriage, 32-year-old Zhang Yu recently told foreign media, "Marriage, childbirth, taking out loans to buy a house or a car, all of these are debts overdrawing the future. When the economic downturn is evident, if there's no other source of income, we can only tighten our belts." Zhang Yu lives in northeast China and is currently working in the infrastructure industry. The projects he is involved in are led by centrally administered state-owned enterprises in China, which seems like an enviable job. But even so, his industry has experienced significant pay cuts this year. Salaries have generally decreased by 30%. I'm secretly grateful that I haven't married and had children. Otherwise, it would be a big problem. Zhang Yu believes that the poor economic situation has a direct impact on marriage rate. He explains that the one-child policy in the northeast region has been well implemented. After marriage, both couples have to bear the economic burden of 4 elderly parents and children, which creates immense pressure. According to iResearch's quantitative research survey on the unmarried population, there is a predominant fear psychology among them towards marriage. 36% of them expressed fear towards marriage. The latest survey showed that the average cost of marriage in China is about 330,000 yuan, more than 8 times the per capita disposable income of 2023, which is 39,000 yuan. It reflects the heavy economic pressure that marriage expenses impose on both spouses and their families. Like many Chinese young people facing uncertain economic prospects, 32-year-old Victor Li, a wealthy entrepreneur from Shanghai, is also unsure if he can afford the various costs of marriage. He recently attended a social event in Shanghai specifically designed for highly educated and affluent singles.
So even the rich in China are avoiding marriage because they're not sure if they can even afford a woman. But when you have women in China that are saying that they want a man who makes at least above $120,000 a year, is at least 6 feet tall, has a six-pack, can offer up 6 inches, and then has to have a bunch of other interpersonal and communication skills, and needs to pay a dowry of like $100,000 before she will even consider marrying him. Guys, and then what does she have? She's not even making $500 a month, but she has a bachelor's degree and she's fabulous. Slay, yas. Guys, don't forget I have another channel called Angry where I discuss gaming, anime, geek stuff, nerd stuff, real world stuff, and whatever else interests me. There's a link to the description of the video. Go check the channel out, subscribe to the channel, support my work. And guys, if you're enjoying the content on this channel, you want even more of this content, head over to the Men Walking Away channel. There's a link to the Men Walking Away channel description of the video. I post daily videos on the Men Walking Away channel, so head over there, check the channel out, subscribe to the channel, support my work. Guys, what do you think regarding all of this? Over 100 million leftover women in China are basically facing the facts that they will not be getting married, having children, or able to settle down. And this is becoming a huge burden in society, and this is a situation that we're seeing in the West as well. And as this is happening, more men are becoming beautiful ones and entering into their soft guy era. Let me know your thoughts on this, and we'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA and walking away. And cheers.